All right, I usually like to wait just a moment while people get into the room. But if you can hear me and see me, feel free in the chat to say hello and shout out where you're joining us from. We always like to see where from across Canada you're logging in from this evening. So we'll just give it a few more seconds and then I'll get started. I see some familiar names here. Thanks for joining, Chris, Kavita, Kaya, Sophie, Charlotte. Fabulous. All right, Grace from Calgary, Kaya from Ottawa, Kavita from Mississauga. Excellent. Thanks so much for joining us. Excellent. We've got some BC people in the house. Hi, Cheryl. Hi, Ian. Coast to coast. Anyone from the Atlantic? All right. Well, we are going to be recording today's session. So if you do miss anything, you can feel free to come back to the link that you registered with and you can watch it again. And then we will be putting this on YouTube likely next week as well. So we're going to go ahead and get started now. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Education USA presentation on internships in the United States. My name is Jenica Heim, and I'm here with my colleague Rachel and our presenter Libby, who will both take the mic in a moment and introduce themselves. First and foremost, Education USA is a U.S. Department of State network of more than 400 international advising centers in more than 180 countries, and we promote higher education around the world by offering accurate, comprehensive, and current information about studying in the United States. If you have any questions about our network worldwide, check out educationusa.state.gov. And here in Canada, we have two advisors, as I mentioned. Rachel's here. Rachel.
Hi, everyone. My name is Rachel. I'm based in Vancouver, BC. So hi to my people from BC and Alberta. So my area would be BC, Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba. If you have any questions regarding the application to the U.S. institutions, please reach out to me. Here's my email address on the slide. Thank you.
And I'm your Eastern Canada advisor. So I help students in Ontario and East. So that also includes Quebec, the Atlantic provinces, and some of our Northern territories. Some things that you can expect from Education USA. We are a free advising resource. So contacting us, using our resources, coming to our events, it's always going to be free. You can always ask us any sort of question related to studying in the United States. We have a lot of in-person events and webinars, and I really want to promote what's coming up this week. So this week, you can meet us, and you can actually meet our speaker, Libby, as well, at the college fair, the Study Go Abroad University and College Fair. It'll be in Toronto, Mississauga, and Vancouver. So, of course, I'll be in the Ontario locations, and you can meet Rachel during the Vancouver fair. You should definitely check us out on social media. So here's our here's our Instagram. So you can see our posts with Tuesday tips for admissions and popular majors and all sorts of stuff. And I'm just going to throw one more pop-up at you. So promise this is the last one. Our next webinar is going to be showcasing women's colleges. So just about every month we do a showcase of some kind, either on one aspect of the admissions process or on a certain type of college or program that you might encounter in the US. Definitely use our website, educationusacanada.ca, to get more information about the process. It's a great place to get started. All right, let's jump into today's agenda. So today we're going to be talking about internships, which is a really different than our normal showcase event. And I think this is a great opportunity. I get a lot of questions about internships. And when I met Libby at the Study Go Abroad Fair previously, I knew that this could be a great resource for all of you to learn about. So I'll be starting off by talking a little bit about internships if you're a fully enrolled F1 student, and then Libby will speak to you about J1 internships. So I'll go ahead and get started on the first portion. So just to start with what is a F1 versus a J1. Okay, this is all getting right into the kind of State Department visa speak. But basically, if you want to go and study in the United States, you want to enroll and get a bachelor's degree, get a master's degree, get any sort of full-time degree in the United States, then there are certain ways that you're allowed to access work or training opportunities. So that's what I'm going to talk about, because that's really in my realm of being a student in the US. But there's another type of visa called the J1. J1s are exchange visas, and there's a lot of different categories that fit under there. And one of those is an internship category. So a J1 is for someone who's in Canada who'd like to do a short-term internship in the United States and would need that DS 2019 in order to exchange to the US. All right, so now you know the difference. Let's dive in a little bit on internships as an F1 student. So if you go down to the US as a student, you're enrolled, let's say you're in a bachelor's degree in an undergraduate program, you're studying there for 4 years. There are certain type of work that you can access. So you can work on campus up to 20 hours per week in any of the on-campus jobs available, and you can do training or potentially internships off campus through CPT and OPT time. So that's curriculum practical training and optional practical training. I'm going to talk about what each of those things are in just a moment. There's also restrictions on how you work. Now, to be clear, if there's anyone in this group that is an American citizen or an American permanent resident, honestly, this webinar is not for you, because you can simply work in the United States. You don't need any sort of visa. You don't have any restrictions if you go there as a student, right? So if that's you, you can say thank you so much and probably log off, or at least listen to this information for a friend. But basically, if you are a student, you cannot just work off campus. I usually like to say you can work at the Starbucks on campus, but not the one across the street from campus, okay? So you can't just work anywhere. You also cannot just get an internship off campus on your own volition and start doing that work, whether it's paid or not. You cannot do that. It needs to be done through what's called curriculum practical training. Looks like we lost an American. You're welcome. See you next time. Okay, so curriculum practical training. This is CPT, more, is what is the acronym we love to use. And if you go in the handout section, there's a part of the State Department website. It's called studyinthestates.dhs.gov. I love this website. It has a lot of rules around what you can do under the different visa classes. So it'll have information about the F1 and the J1, and then it has information about CPT and OPT. So I grabbed this definition directly from that website. So CPT is an alternative work study, internship, cooperative education, or other type of required practicum that a sponsoring employer offers through cooperative agreements with your college or university. And so basically, if you're doing a degree that requires some sort of internship or co-op, then you are able to access CPT. So this is very common for, say, engineering majors. Oftentimes, engineering majors have a mandatory co-op. It's also common for business students to potentially have a mandatory internship they need to do. So just know that if you want to have an off-campus internship at any time during your studies, F1 studies, it needs to be mandated as part of your curriculum in order for you to be able to do it. Otherwise, you can always access work opportunities on campus. So you can always get an internship or a job somewhere on campus, regardless of what type of work that is. An internship can be paid or unpaid. It can be full-time or part-time. And you will need to work with your DSO at your university to see if you're eligible. The DSO is your designated school official, and basically once you become a student at a US university, they are your point of contact. They issue your documents, they sign your documents, they tell you what you're allowed to do, what you're not allowed to do, okay? So it's okay, just know that like in the future, if you go study in the States, the person who's in charge of everything related to your documents would be the same person who's in charge of this. Moving on to OPT. OPT is a form of training. It's called optional practical training that's often paid that directly relates to your program of study. Some students can't choose to use this during their studies, but most frequently students wait till they graduate and then they use this time post-graduation. Every student, when you complete a degree, has 12 months that they can use of optional practical training time. And then any student who's in a STEM designated field can activate their extension for up to 36 months of optional practical training time. And especially with the STEM designations, that's something that you can, as you're searching different schools and programs and majors, and you're in something like environmental studies, for example, where it can go either way. You get a Bachelor of Art of Environmental Studies, or you can do an environmental studies major that's maybe more like science focused. So you would need to work with your DSO or at least your admissions officer. They can usually tell you what majors are the STEM designated majors where you would be eligible for that extension time. There's some really obvious ones like engineering, computer science, most of the hard sciences. But then there's sometimes ones that you don't always come directly to mind, like data analytics or something like that. That would maybe fall under math, and that could also count. Work with your DSO at your university in order to gain your OPT approval and use that time. Okay, so a little bit on the technical side, but that's laying the groundwork for any of you who are thinking of studying in the States full time and want to know all your different options for getting that work experience. Now I'm going to hand it over to Libby Law, who is working at SWAP Working Holidays, and she is going to tell you more about, okay, you live in Canada and you want to just head down to the States for an internship, a work experience. How do you do that? So I'm going to hand it over to you, Libby, to tell them all about that process.
Great. Well, thank you very much. So my name is Libby Law, everyone. Hello. I am the director here at SWAP. I'm really excited today to talk to you about our Internship USA program. It's a very popular program that we offer. It gives Canadian students and recent graduate or post-secondary students and recent graduates the ability to train in the US for up to 12 months. So it's a really great program. So some of the topics that we're going to cover today are, first of all, who is SWAP? Who are we? How we help Canadian youth. We're going to talk about how to find an internship in the US. We're going to talk about the eligibility criteria for the program. Also, the steps that are involved to give you an idea of the process, and then how to move forward. So hopefully I can try to get through it so you have a really clear view of our Internship USA program and the opportunities that are out there for you. So SWAP, we are a 50-year-old organization. We've been helping Canadians live and work abroad for a very long time. We send Canadians to countries like the US, also UK, Ireland, Australia, New Zealand, Japan. So we send people everywhere. We've been helping Canadians get to the US on various different J1 categories of visas for about 30 years now. We work with some of the largest sponsors in the US, and these sponsors are there to help with getting the visa and giving our participants support from the time you sign up with us until the time you return to Canada. So we have some really great partnerships. So let's dig into the program details. So as Jenica was saying before, an internship is, the way we see a J1 intern is a little bit different. So that is for a Canadian post-secondary student or recent graduate who finds a really great training opportunity in the US that will last up to 12 months. So why do you want to intern in the US? There's so many reasons. Number one reason is to get some real world work experience working in your field. So you go to school, you're in university, you learn and you learn. And this is a really great way to use everything you've learned in a real world work environment. Also, the US is a great place to intern. It's very close to home for most of us, so we don't have to travel too far. So that's really great. There are also so many training opportunities in the US. There's a lot of really big, globally recognized corporations and organizations in the US. And some of these opportunities we might just not have available to us in Canada. So there are some really, really great companies that you can work for. Also, training in the US enhances your resume. It is hands down a really great addition to have on a resume so that when you come back into Canada and you start actually looking for your career type of job, prospective employers will see that you've worked in the US and like, wow, that looks really great on your resume. You'll also be able to train with industry leaders. You'll be able to make connections with American organizations, American colleagues. You'll be able to have these networks with you throughout your career and going on into your life. Being able to exchange your ideas with an international team of people, just coming out of university, that's a pretty amazing opportunity. You're going to meet a lot of people, whether it's professional connections or just meeting new friends. Those, again, are connections that are going to last a lifetime. So there really are great opportunities. So just to kind of dig into the vocabulary around internships, and this is particularly the J1 internships. So what is a visa sponsor? A lot of people use this. A lot of people say visa sponsor all the time, and we're like, wait, do you actually know what that means? So let me just explain it. So how it works in the US is that the US Department of State, they kind of manage all of these exchange programs. And what they've done is they've designated certain organizations in the US a designation of being a visa sponsor. And it's their job to manage all of the J1 visa holders in the US. So part of that responsibility is that when you apply on a J1 intern program, it's the sponsor's responsibility to vet you as an applicant. It's also their responsibility to vet your host organization. It's another weird vocab term of a J1 program. So the host organization is the company that you're going to go and intern with in the US. Because it's a training opportunity and not a job, we don't call them an employer. We call it a host organization because they're hosting you to give you this amazing training opportunity. So the visa sponsor vets the host organization. They vet you. They vet your internship opportunity. So they want to make sure that it's a really valuable opportunity for you, that you're not going down and making coffee for the CEO or picking up someone's dry cleaning. It's really has to be an internship that allows you to get some experience in your field where you can learn and train under some of the great people on their team. The sponsor is also there to protect you. So they want to make sure that you're in a safe work environment. They want to check in with you and see where you're living to make sure you're in a safe living environment. So they're there to protect and support you for the whole time that you're in the US. So if you have any issues or problems or questions, the sponsor is there. So they're really great. The sponsor we work with is CIEE. They're one of the largest sponsors in the US. We're their Canadian agent here in Canada. So we love working with them. They're great. And they're so supportive for our participants, which is really key. Hold on, let me see. Sorry. So everybody always asks us, the first question is, how do I find an internship? So finding an internship can be, it's definitely a commitment. So it's not that it's that challenging, although you really do have to spend the time on it. But we have some tips here that might help you if you are looking to intern in the US. So the first thing we want you to do is research some companies in your field. So, think about the kind of companies you'd like to work for, start researching them. Take a look at companies that would align with your career goals. They would align with your values of the type of business you want to work for. You can use job boards, you can use LinkedIn, you can use company websites to search for internships. In the US, it's quite common for big companies to look for interns, particularly summer interns. So a lot of times on their career pages, they have internship opportunities listed. So you definitely want to make sure you look there. You can also use internship or job search websites. Websites like Indeed, LinkedIn, Glassdoor, there are so many internship search websites out there. So there's definitely lots to find if you're on a Google search. You can search by keywords, you can search by location, by industry, you can set up internship or job alerts to come through so that you can, be fast to inquire about those opportunities. Also, you can use industry-specific platforms for your search. So if you're a business student, a law student, or medical student, there's lots of different platforms out there. Another thing to do is networking. I feel like everybody kind of cringes when we say networking, but it really is key. It's a key part of finding an internship. It can be a key part of job hunting later on down your career. But it's just really connecting with people. You can, go to your co-op department at school and see if there's other alumni that have interned in the US that you could reach out to. You want to reach out to your instructors, your professors, any professionals that you know in your field, attending networking events, job fairs. Don't be afraid to reach out to people on LinkedIn or through email. Building relationships with people in your field can create internship leads and then later job leads. So don't be afraid of networking. It really is a great way to connect yourself to people. As I said before, finding previous interns from your industry, maybe someone in your co-op department could recommend you to speak with someone. I love the concept of setting up informational interviews. So if you find someone in your field, even if it's in Canada, sit down with them and see if they'll let you buy them a coffee and have an informational interview with them. And once you let people know that you are looking for an internship opportunity in the US, they might know somebody there, or they might have an industry contact that they can put you through to. Also, be proactive. You really do need to be on top of looking for an internship. It's almost like having a part-time job. There are lots of opportunities in the US, but they are competitive. So, you really have to be diligent. You have to be working on it all the time and applying and doing your best to follow up all the time. So it is definitely something you need to work on. But when you find the right internship for yourself, it is amazing. And most people have really wonderful, wonderful experiences. So in terms of eligibility for this program, I feel we've kind of covered it a little bit, but minimum age is 18. So you must be 18 to participate. You also have to be either a current full-time post-secondary student or a recent graduate for up to 1 year. And then the really important part is that you also need to have found yourself an internship that is directly related to your course of study. So, if you are a graphic design student, but you found a marketing role at, even a graphic design firm, you have to make sure that what you're going to be doing in your internship is directly related to your course of study. Okay, so once you've hopefully visited our website, which is swap.ca, there's lots of information there about our internship program. You can also reach out to us anytime and ask questions. Usually with our intern applicants, we have a lot of dialogue back and forth so that you feel that you have the most knowledge as you go forward through the process. Once you have an internship, then you can go to our site and fill out an assessment. So the assessment just really is to get information about you, your academic history, where you're at with that, what degree are you working on, or what degree do you currently have. Also some information about your internship, where you'll be interning and what you'll be doing there. Once you submit that to us, we can assess it. And if we see that your internship and your education qualifies, then we'll reach out to you and let you know about the next steps, and the cost of the program and whatnot. If you decide, once you decide that you do want to move forward, we'll invite you into CIE's online application. So that's where you fill out all of your personal details, your academic details, your internship details. You give us information about your host organization and what you'll be doing there. While you're doing that, we will invite your host organization into our site so that they can start completing your training plan. So what that is that your host organization has to put together a plan of what you're going to be doing at your internship, and the different steps and phases of learning that you'll be doing while you're there. So again, the sponsor just wants to check to make sure that you're having a really valuable internship experience, and they just want to see all the different phases of learning that you're going to be completing while you're interning there. Then once you've completed your application and the host has completed your training plan, then we at SWAP review it. And when it looks perfect, we submit your visa application to the sponsor for processing. Processing takes roughly 4 to 6 weeks. So if there's anyone out there who's thinking of trying to find an internship for this summer in the US, this is the absolute perfect time to be starting that. Because yes, once you get your internship and get everything done, then you have about 4 to 6 weeks of waiting. I just wanted to add a note as well on the cost of our intern program. So most people are looking to intern for the summer months, so 3 months or less. The cost of the internship program through us is $1,850, so 1,850 Canadian dollars, and that includes all of the support you get throughout your visa application process. It includes your visa document that gets approved through the sponsor. It includes comprehensive medical insurance for the entire time that you're in the US. We all know how the US health system works, so you definitely need to have mandatory coverage while you're there. It also includes your CVIS registration, which we can talk more about that after. And then, of course, all the support you get while you're in the US on your internship from our sponsor organization. So everything goes to plan, which I'm sure it will. You'll be approved for your DS-2019, which is your visa document that gets you into the US. So you will receive an email that has your visa document, your CVIS registration receipt. CVIS is it's an online reporting system that anyone who's on a J1 program in the US, you have to report into CVIS. I believe it's every 30 days just to check in and let them know how you're doing. That also, as I said, includes your insurance coverage. Then you'll also go through a pre-departure online orientation that will get you ready for going into the US. We also send pre-departure resources from SWAP and CIEE. So we just make sure that we cover things like what to do at the border, what documents to take with you, what you say at the border. We talk about the CVIS reporting. We talk about your social security number and when you apply for that. We talk about the general rules of the program. We talk about who to call in an emergency or who to call when you have questions. So we make sure before you leave Canada that you are fully clear on everything you need to do and that you feel confident when you leave to start your trip in the US. Then you travel to the US and you have an amazing time interning there. If you would like to learn more about our Internship USA program, please visit our website, swap.ca. You can email us anytime. We're at info@swap.ca, also internships@swap.ca. So you can get us in either one of those places. You can also call us Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. We're happy to answer questions or set up a time to call and speak to you more at length about internship opportunities and the process. So yes, I think that's all I have for now.
Thank you so much, Libby. So I am sure all of you weren't expected to be bombarded with so much State Department talk. I know it was a lot of acronyms and things coming your way when you travel and study and work abroad. These are the processes that we all get to get very excited and informed about. Like I mentioned, this is recorded, so feel free to watch it back if you need this information more than once. And so please put your questions in the chat. We are here to help clarify things and support you if you are considering this as part of your journey. Okay, so if you have a US green card, then all of this information we've provided about these documents and things, this is actually completely unnecessary for a US green card holder. You don't need an F1 or a J1 visa. That is just for folks who do not have American citizenship or green card. So you actually don't need to go through those processes. The advice you can take is about how to find an internship, right? So you can find an internship, you can apply for those internships, but you wouldn't need an intermediary in order to support you in getting additional documentation to go and work in the United States. The green card allows you to do that work. And then I think some of those other pieces of like, say, health insurance, you would be able to access the American-based health insurance exchanges in order to get health insurance. So a lot of those domestic processes you would have immediate access to, whereas an international student or internship, someone looking for an internship wouldn't have direct access to those. So that's where an intermediary such as SWAP and CIEE are basically required to support you so that you have all of that paperwork lined up properly. You can't just apply for an internship in the States and just go under as a visitor to the US. Even if it's an unpaid internship, this is not allowed.
Okay, I'm just going to respond to Rachel because she asked us what kind of students was that answered?
Oh, here we go. They're coming in.
Okay, yeah. So Rachel, that's a really great question. So what kind of students get a J1 visa? I'm talking there's so many categories of J1 visa. So the J1 visa that we're talking about today is the intern J1. And again, the students that apply for that are post-secondary students or recent graduates up to 1 year. They also, people get internships from every field that you can think of. We have people in Silicon Valley, we have people at law firms, we have people in turf grass management, we have people working for big Hollywood studios. Like, it really is a mix of people from different fields. It's really just about you finding the right opportunity that's going to give you the training that you want, and connecting to the right people that will be able to put you in line with those opportunities.
Okay, Ian asks, how much am I expected to earn in the paid internships?
It really depends. Sometimes, we've had people doing law internships they pay their interns more than a lot of what a lot of us work or get paid in Canada. So it really depends. There are unpaid internships. They're kind of 50-50, paid and unpaid. It really just varies on the industry and what you're bringing to the table, and how much the company has to spend on interns. If it's a really small business, then they're less likely to be able to pay you the big money that a big multinational corporation can do. I don't know if that's helpful.
I would say one thing to know about the United States is every state, just like provinces in Canada, every state has a different minimum wage. And if you're young, like if you're just getting started with your degree, you might expect a minimum wage or something close to that. So you can review that for each state in the United States to get a sense of what those wage earnings might look like. And then from there, when you see posted on a LinkedIn how much the wage is potentially above the minimum wage within that state. Ben asked, do you help find housing during the internship, or what kind of resources would you recommend for students, especially they're going to go for the summer for a couple of months? What do students typically do?
Most host organizations don't organize housing, so it would be up to you to be able to find that. I'm sure that the host organization would be able to point you in the direction of local resources, but that really is that's the responsibility for you. I know that even some intern host organizations, even if they don't pay a high salary, a lot of them offer a housing stipend that helps you to sort of subsidize your housing costs. But I think that once you find a host organization that wants to bring you on, their HR team will be happy to pass on different resources for you to find housing. But it is mainly the responsibility of you to find that.
Excellent. And just as a reminder, this is being recorded. You'll receive a recording afterwards. In the email with the recording, I will give links to the websites that are in the handout section, as well as the link to the SWAP website. So we'll give a link to the few of those resources, but you can definitely play back anything that you need to look over one more time. This is an F1 question. Is it true that you may only do one internship during the length of an F1 visa? So anything you do during the time of your F1, any internships need to be part of your curriculum. So that's curriculum practical training that you can access. Now, it depends on the degree you're seeking on how many internships you can have. So for example, if you go to a school where co-op is part of the overall program of like every student who goes there, oftentimes co-ops are integrated in 2 or maybe even 3 cycles during the entirety of your studies. So every time you do those co-ops, that would be the curriculum practical training time you're using. A business student, for example, they might be able to access an internship each break. For example, potentially 3 summers, 3 internships, etc. So there's not necessarily there's not a maximum or minimum of one, because you could also do a degree where you don't have access to an internship. Some schools, this is important to know. If you're still in the search process for universities, some universities in the US require internships of all their students. And if that's something you want to access, you might want to go to a school like that, because then it's accessible regardless of your major. Whereas other universities, if you're a major in the arts, like getting a Bachelor of Arts in something like what I majored in, like history, oftentimes internships are not required for those students. And so you wouldn't have access to them in the same way as the STEM student might. And so those are important questions to ask while you're in the search process if you know you want to do an off-campus internship during your studies. All right. Do Canadians pay resident fee tuition, or is it an international rate? So Ion, that sounds like that's a question just about generally studying in the United States. And so the short answer is there are private and public universities in the US, and private universities charge the same tuition rate for all students to attend. Public universities have a lower rate for students who live within the state of the university. That doesn't have a lot to do with internships and access to those. But if you have more questions about admissions, our YouTube channel has our 5 Steps to US Study webinar and a lot of other great resources. You can definitely check out our website, and also feel free to follow up with more questions by email too. I'm happy to talk to people about admissions stuff. All right, there's a pretty long question about theater. Did you have a chance to, Libby, did you take a look at that one by any chance?
Sorry, I just
no,
saw
it's
that
okay.
now, and I was like, oh gosh. Sorry.
Oh, this is okay. This is someone who this is an enrolled F1 student. Okay, so this is for me then.
Okay.
So basically, I when you're asking specific questions about specific universities, you have to go directly to that designated school advisor at the university and ask them the questions because, like I mentioned, every university is different on the way that the number of internships students have, and it's actually going to vary degree to degree and department by department. So definitely ask them those questions. I wouldn't be able to answer that for you. All right. These are all excellent questions that have come through. Are there any other final questions we can answer for folks? All right. Thank you, everyone, for your participation today, for your great questions. I'm going to go ahead and final slide here. Please go ahead and email us and send us messages and ask more questions and follow up. We look forward to working with all of you. Thank you so much to Libby for helping us with our presentation.
Thank you.
And yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. It was a pleasure to learn about F1 programs, actually. I was like, now I know what that is. And yes, same that if anybody has specific questions about the intern J1, please reach out to us at info@swap.ca. We're happy to walk you through it and talk you through it and make sure you have the most information that you need.
All right. Have a great evening, everyone, and see you next time.
Thank you.